Welcome to News Night with me, Solomon Serwanja, and of course, I'm joined by the old man of the clan, and he prefers calling me his son. So,
Grand. You are too young to be my son. Maybe my great-grandson.
Andrew Mwenda, CEO of the Independent magazine, and this evening we'll be discussing the FDC Policy Agenda, which they said would be Uganda's leap forward. Andrew, you have been following this event, and I was there when Mutu was presenting his policy agenda to the thousands of people who were there. But he was speaking so passionately. Andrew, what is your overview of the FDC agenda?
First of all, I should tell you, I did not watch the speech, so I did not see the passion, but I read it. And I hold Muntu in the highest esteem. If there is any day that passes in Uganda that makes me feel proud to be a Ugandan, is that we have a person of Muntu's character, of Muntu's level of integrity, of Muntu's level of patriotism and nationalism in charge of a major opposition political party in Uganda. It makes me very, very proud. If I woke up and I found Muntu as president of Uganda, I would be one of the happiest men in this country. And I think that Muntu can make a very good president. I'm not sure whether he can make a good presidential candidate. You see, to be president, there is a transition from you being what you are to becoming president. That is a campaign. I don't know whether he can make a good presidential candidate. So his speech, although it is good in generalities and weak in specifics, that is what a speech of a political leader of his caliber is supposed to make. You don't want to make a speech extremely technical and boring. It is a very good speech, and I like it because he avoids the nature of many of Uganda's political speeches, especially those from Dr. Chiza Besigye, where the basis of the speech is a series of angry attacks on Museveni and personalizing things. I feel he tends to focus more on NRM than on Museveni. He's able to recognize that achievements have been made, and he makes an important point in this speech. He says, look, it is not good for us to measure ourselves so much to measure ourselves on where we have come from. We should measure ourselves on by the standard of where we want to go, which is a very important point.
And it's identical of President Museveni. I mean, we've seen him on different speeches. He always kind of tells us about how Uganda was in 1986 and where we are. And Mutu is saying we should be focusing on where we are supposed to be going.
Exactly. You see, Kwame Nkrumah said that those who would merely judge us by the heights we have achieved would do better to remember the depth from which we started. To that degree, I agree that any critique of Museveni must acknowledge the achievements that he has been able to register in three major areas. One, being able to establish a stable and much more durable political dispensation. So the era of constant changes of government through military coups and insurrections in Uganda, Museveni brought it to an end. So you have a much more stable political order. Two, Museveni has put the Ugandan economy on the rails of sustainable growth. This economy has been growing for the last 28, 29 years consistently. And
actually, Mutu says that he cannot discount the fact that the economy Uganda has grown to some extent, but he emphasizes that the foundation of this growth is very unstable.
I thought he says that growth has slowed down. Two things he says. Growth has slowed down over the last 5 years, which is true. We are growing, say, at 7%. Now we are growing at around 5.56%. So growth has slowed down. But two, the more important point he makes is that it is jobless growth. Maybe not jobless growth. I would say that the kind of growth Uganda has enjoyed has not been able to create large-scale, broad-based, low-skilled employment jobs for the youth. And he does not answer the question. Perhaps, Muntu, next time, please, you consult an old man of my age. I could give you one or two ideas. Let me tell you what Muntu should say. And what is the issue? And Museveni actually says this, that to create large-scale, broad-based, low-skilled, blue-collar jobs, you need to promote manufacturing. And to create manufacturing, Museveni is doing one of those elements. Right now, there is a heavy NRM. There is a heavy investment in infrastructure, airports, railways, and tamaking of roads. That is important. The other is infrastructure in form of energy. You can see Isimba, Ayago, Karuma, all these projects that are coming on board. And then four, these telecommunication lines. That is critical for manufacturing. But what is also important is to have a set of clearly targeted incentives in the form of either subsidies, a combination of all of these, subsidies, cheap credits, and tax breaks to attract investors into manufacturing. If you go into manufacturing, assuming you have to produce textiles here or shoes, you can create more than 500,000 jobs. Without manufacturing, I don't think an economy can create the kind of jobs that can absorb all these Ugandan youth.
Well, Mutu rather goes on the agriculture sector and is saying that, according to the policy agenda, Andrew, that he will establish a national agriculture bank. And you and me know that UCB was closed and sold off because government was saying it was not operating on profit. So we are looking at Andrew.
Not UCB was not closed, because what was closed was the cooperative bank. It was much more involved in agriculture. UCB had agricultural loans, all of them went bad simply because they were given for political rather than for business reasons.
So do you think that the FDC can put in place a national agriculture bank and it will run at a non-profit?
Remember that the FDC is not going to go to Norway or Sweden and hire people from there. It's going to hire these same Ugandans who failed the agricultural programs of UCB at that time. It is unlikely that the state in Uganda, whether it's run by Andrew Mwenda, Chiza Besigye, Yoweri Museveni, can have such a fundamental change in the behavior of incumbents that you can have the government run a bank and allocate loans on the basis of business efficiency rather than the basis of political considerations. In any case, it doesn't happen anywhere in the world. But let me explain the point Muntu makes. Actually, I was missing it. He says there is a need to invest in agriculture. You see, although agriculture should be the past of Uganda, it right now employs about 65% of our population, derive their livelihood from agriculture. Precisely because of that, you need again investments, first of all, in both agriculture and industry. There are many investments in agriculture that can only be viable if you have complementary industries. For example, you need to do agro-processing industries so that the people who produce milk can easily feed into the yogurt industry. The people who produce sugarcane can have, you need to create an economy that has backward and forward linkages so that a lot of what is produced in agriculture, for it to be preserved, a lot of agricultural products, remember, perishable, they must be processed. And once they are processed, then they can be kept and exported and you make more money. So that is a very important point to focus on agriculture. Let me give you an important statistic. The rate of economic growth in agriculture over the last 10 years is about 2.5% on average in 10 years. The rate of Uganda's population growth is 3.1%. It means if the official statistics are to go by, there has been consistent decline in per capita output in agriculture.
Andrew, I'm afraid we are running out of time, but just in 30 seconds, please, the implementation of this policy, Andrew.
And that is a challenge. You see, for many governments and political parties, it is so easy to state your intentions of what you want to do. Even the NRM, I think that Museveni is a much stronger policy president or policy candidate compared to Muntu. But always the devil is in implementation. It is so easy to preach these things. It is so difficult to get them implemented. And that will be the challenge that any person succeeding in Museveni will have to face. How do you reconstruct or constitute public institutions in Uganda to ensure that when money is deployed to a given sector, the outcomes are consistent with the value that has been invested?
And Mwenda, thank you so much for your analysis and your view. That has been News Night with Andrew Mwenda, the old man of the clan, and the CEO
also your great-grandfather.
The CEO of the Independent magazine.